Here is a summary of the story Silk Road by Nick Middleton. The narrator describes his journey to Mount Kailash. He wanted to travel to Mount Kailash to complete the Kora. Kora is the Tibetan word for revolution. It means circling a sacred object or place. There were many Kora sites around the world. One of them was Mount Kailash. Nick and his translator Daniel decided to take a shortcut to Mount Kailash. However, this involved driving through several high mountain passes. Setan, his guide, informed him that if there was no snow, then it would be not a problem. Their road led them to open paths. There were only gazelles and wild ass dotting the paths. As they traveled further, they came across drogbas or nomads tending to their flocks. The nomads would stare at the narrator's car. Their sheep would run away as the car came closer to them. They also passed the dark tents of nomads who lived in splendid isolation. Only a few of them had Tibetan mastiffs for company. The mastiff is a species of Tibetan dog. They are described by the narrator as great shaggy monsters, blacker than the darkest night. These mastiffs were fearless. They ran directly at the vehicle and Setan was forced to swerve to avoid hitting them. As the snow-capped mountains approached, the ride became sharper and bumpier. From the icy plains, they traveled upwards onto steeper slopes. The narrator could feel the pressure building in his ears. Suddenly, Setan stopped. There was a large patch of snow lying in front of them. Daniel informed him that the snow was slippery and could cause the car to turn over. Nick watched as Setan carried handfuls of dirt to cover the snow. Their next hurdle was even more dangerous. Setan had to drive around the snow. Slowly they made their way up to 5,515 meters. A ring of rocks marked this stop. Such rock formations were usually holy sites. The men stopped and paid their respects according to tradition. Then they went down the slope of the pass marked by salt flats. Here, there were men in sheepskin coats working with pickaxes. Then they came to the lake Mansarovar. The town of Hor was situated at its shores. Setan made them all get tea at Hor. Daniel left them to go to Lhasa. Nick and Setan traveled on to Darchen. They were very close to Mount Kailash. That night, the narrator felt a sharp pressure on his chest. He also could not breathe through his nose. He sat up on his bed. This action made him feel slightly better. The narrator kept himself awake the entire night. He did not want to suffer from any further ill effects or quietly pass away in his sleep. The next day, Setan took him to Darchen Medical College. The doctor diagnosed it as pneumonia and prescribed medication. Setan made sure that the narrator was all right. Then he left. Sickness and death were bad for his business. So the narrator was left alone. It was at this time that he met Norbu, another traveler who had come to perform Kora. They became good friends. The narrator decided that Norbu would be the ideal companion for the journey. Though Norbu was as ill-equipped as Nick to trek the mountain, Norbu made up for it with his enthusiasm. Norbu could also speak Tibetan, which Nick felt would be useful during their journey. At the end of the story, Norbu and Nick decided to trek Mount Kailash together.